The spy hiring delays are harming the UK's defence against Russia and China, sources say. We're going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here, with an exclusive from My News with the headline that spy hiring delays are harming the UK's defence against Russia and China, sources say. Delays to security clearances have left some candidates waiting up to 3 years to be approved, multiple intelligence sources told the Eye. So guys, just before I give your initial thoughts, if you can, hit the like button and share across social media so others are notified of this video. So the Eye have covered a variety of stories already with regards to intelligence. So whether or not they're how accurate are the sources is up to you to decide whether you want to believe what the Eye is saying. But they have covered a few stories with regards to intelligence. Given the current state of affairs in the UK and in particular in England, I would not actually say that this is more likely to be true than false, considering how frail our country has really been over the last several years. It really does feel like that our defences and that everything around us seems to be very negative, very downfall, and it doesn't seem to be much hope really coming forward in terms of what's going to happen, obviously with regards to a general election. But there was already concerns about intelligence in the past anyway. We've had where governments, where for example when Boris Johnson appointed Lord one of the lords, who was a former KGB agent or had connections to a KGB agent, became Lord of Siberia, Lord Lebedov I think his name was, and intelligence sources had said you should not appoint this man as the House of Lords, and governments were kind of ignored. Governments kind of ignored the intelligence on it, and while I do think they are doing important work behind the scenes, I'm just curious to know, like, have they? I feel like they have also been at the chopping board at the hands of austerity as well. I wouldn't be surprised at all, and we just don't know about it because obviously they're probably because they're a spy agency, intelligence sources, and obviously the public aren't supposed to know too much about them. But it would not surprise me if austerity did play a hand in making things more difficult for them to hire spies and hire what they need to ensure that they are protecting the security and interests of the United Kingdom at best. So in that sense, I do think it's more reliable to say that the Eye have probably got something here. Now, obviously, we'll read into it about how spies are hired, because obviously I'm not sure, because I did read a little bit into it, and it does explain how the process works. But obviously, as I said, I do think funding does play a part in it. And obviously, it's not just they keep saying about Russia and China. Yes, it's Russia and China, but there are other countries as well that could potentially pose a threat to us as well. And and don't get me wrong, we have differences with them, but countries are always spying on each other. Everyone spies on each other, to be fair. And certain countries obviously share intelligence agencies with each other as well. So I think that's also important to say. But but it obviously says here at the top here, it's delays to security clearances as well. So what's the reason? Let's read a little bit into it as I give my thoughts as we go along, guys. So, security vetting delays are damaging the ability of the UK's intelligence service to recruit and hinder Britain's response to threats from hostile states, the Eye has been told. The years a long way have left the security services battling to attract new hires, especially at graduate level, resulting in an over-reliance on private contractors who have had less rigorous screenings, according to 5 service and former UK intelligence sources. So it looks like they're claiming that we're looking at private contractors rather than new hires. That's concerning if those sources are accurate. Candidates from UK intelligence agencies are required to pass vital, stringent security checks, but sources from MI6, MI5 and GCHQ and the Foreign Office have warned that better resources are needed to tackle delays and have taken a toll on the day-to-day work. See, this sounds like better resources. This sounds like money again. And why are we relying on private contractors? how trustworthy can you do on private contractors? Is that's what we're doing as well. As the threat from hostile states reaches Cold War era levels, allegedly, was just because the defense secretary said that doesn't mean it is, but you can speculate on that, on whether we're in Cold War era levels. Britain's spies agencies are being pressed hard to protect the UK's national security from a wide range of emerging threats. The war in Ukraine has increased the demand on the UK intelligence community needs for Russian speakers and specialists, while British spy agencies require extra expenses to tackle the severe threat from China's intelligence service. In order to adapt to the new and emerging threats from terrorism and hostile states, UK intelligence agencies need to hire specialists, intelligence officers, translators, and analysts quickly when needed. But the lack of specialist vetting officers and the exhaustive nature of the checks have left some candidates waiting up to 3 years to be approved, multiple intelligence sources told the Eye. 3 years is a long time to get approved. That seems very, very long if it is indeed true. But excuse me, the increase in obviously things are starting to. I would say I would call it. There is an increase in world tension lately. There's that without a shadow of a doubt. You have so many conflicts taking place at the moment. So there's obviously the continuing conflict in Myanmar that's always been happening over there in Asia. There is tension between China and Taiwan over there. There is obviously the tension in the Middle East. As you guys know, there's obviously lots of proxy wars taking place in Syria, Iraq, for example. There's obviously what's happening in Yemen with regards to the Houthi rebels backed by Iran's revolutionary. There's also the conflict in Gaza between Israel and Hamas, and innocent Palestinians that are losing their lives. There is the war in Ukraine, which is obviously a terrible tragedy what's been going on there. There is continuous tension building up between Serbia and Kosovo down in Europe as well. Whether or not that will spew into war, I don't know, but there's certainly tension there taking place. There is conflicts taking place in Africa as well. In many of the countries down there, there's been a lot of corruption down there. There is tension building up. Some tension building up within bits of, I believe, between Venezuela and Guyana in South America as well. So there is a lot of world tension, I think it's fair to say, because I've pointed out pretty much many conflicts in different continents there. So to say that there hasn't been an increase in world tension, I think that pretty much does speak for itself. There isn't an outright war in South America, no, but the tension is definitely there. But it's not a very peaceful time, I think, for sure. But MI6, MI5 and GCHQ are all currently hiring Mandarin and Persian linguists, presumably in a bid to deal with the emerging threat from China and Iran. Security vetting is an essential step in the prevention of security information reaching groups or individuals who wish to threaten the stability of the UK. An intrinsic background check on anyone applying to the roles that have access to sensitive information ensures a level of safeguard against the possibility and helps protect national security. And there are several different types of vetting levels, with most common being counter-terrorist checks, TCC, security checks, SC, developed vetting, DV. DV is the most complex and allows individual access to more sensitive government information and assets. UK intelligence agencies vet their own staff, while a dedicated area of the Cabinet Office runs checks for the rest of the government. Interesting. So UK intelligence agencies vets their own staff, and a dedicated area of the Cabinet Office runs checks for the government. All 5 sources told the Eye that security vetting delays had led to a downturn in hiring that had forced intelligence agencies and government departments to take on more risk and hire private contractors with lower levels of clearance. A serving officer at MI6, the UK's foreign intelligence agency, otherwise known as the Secret Intelligence Service, the SIS, said they were struggling to retain candidates after they had initially been offered roles. We are struggling to attract young people to the agency because they go through this rigorous hiring process only to be told they need to wait up to 3 years for their vetting to be approved, they told the Eye. By the time their letter comes through, the SIS that say they passed, they've already progressed in another job at a private company with much higher pay, and they're not interested. You put them through all that. So wait a minute, let me get this right, if this is true, okay? So we are paying because it's obviously taxpayers are paying for intelligence, paying for these services and all that for the training as part of their budgets, obviously. So we're training them up, and they're having to wait 3 years, and then so we're paying for their training and everything. Yeah, we taxpayers, we're paying for them allegedly, and then all that goes to nothing because we're making them wait for 3 years, and by the time 3 years comes around, they've long moved on. What we're wasting money again here. Might the only one see something there? Big tech firms such as Google and Meta are luring prospective spies away from intelligence agencies with much higher salaries during the period they await vetting approval, the serving MI6 officer added. I wonder why they're hiring spies. A second source working within the Foreign Office told the Eye it's causing a real problem with recruitment of graduates because they are asking very bright, capable people to wait until they can work, during which time they aren't getting a salary. Yeah. If they're not even getting paid while they're sitting there on the sidelines, why would they wait? Like, no point. They said the vetting process works, but it takes time and money to do properly. The Cabinet Office, which holds vetting responsibility for government departments, has been running it understaffed and underfunded, leaving the system utterly broken, forcing departments to take more risk on staff with lower security clearances, they added. See, this is what I meant by austerity and cutbacks. So they've obviously cut back on all this, the government, the Conservative political party in particular, which is what's left, which is why we have this situation here. So without enough people to get through this, it means they're dragging on longer, and because they drag on longer, they end up going somewhere else, which means we end up wasting taxpayer money in the end, which in turn means we hire private contractors, which means we pay them substantial amounts of money, but we don't know how trustworthy these private contractors are, who are doing the roles that even the roles that other people should be doing. This is what the Eye stated. And they said they're all left asking, do you risk not putting someone through this long and expensive process so that you can get them working when you need them to? Yeah. A government spokesperson says we do not accept this. The security of our people and wider government is a fundamental priority, with high standards maintained at all times, and an overwhelming majority of clearances are being delivered promptly. We are also continuing to ensure that we have the best people with the right skills, and recruitment and retention remain strong across the UK intelligence community. But all 5 security sources who spoke to the Eye said the damage from the delays to vetting for the intelligence agency was already being seen. 2 sources from the GCHQ, the government's intelligence communication headquarters, said the issue had been apparent at the agencies for years now, and it is now having an impact, leading to shortage of specialist employees such as translators. This has been happening for years. Why has this not been addressed? One of the GCHQ sources said that the shortages of linguists was a phenomenal problem and a workaround that had to be used to self-employ interpreters on short-term contracts with more basic vetting. They said that this opened the UK intelligence community to unnecessary vulnerabilities from hostile foreign states wishing to learn the UK's most guarded secrets. The source pointed to a case which emerged last week whereby a self-employed interpreter claims to have worked for GCHQ, MI6, the Ministry of Defence and the Home Office, was accused by the UK government of spying for Russian military intelligence, according to the Times. See, that means that's just going to open us up even more to vulnerability there. The alleged spy, known only as C2, denied allegations that he spied for Russia and claimed that he was given DV vetting, supplying a UK court with his vetting forms and a letter from GCHQ offering him a contract. The government defends C2 was given DV vetting. While C2 ended any work for the government in 2011, the GCHQ source said the case was indicative of some of the issues that you could come up with when relying on outsourced specialist staff. A 5th UK intelligence source, who worked for a number of agencies and government departments, including MI5, said the vulnerabilities will always remain because it's quite simply quicker and easier to get translators into agencies on lower level security clearances. They told the Eye when translators it is seen a better option to SC them. It's quicker and easier. They can then sit in meetings with DV, strap people and view certain materials under the guidance of the people with higher levels of clearing. The problem is that over time, as you have more and more meetings, the lines become blurred and SC employees who have been around a while start to naturally become privy to DV level information. So how does security vetting work? Security vetting is vital in the hiring of staff who have access to the most confidential and sensitive information about the inner workings of the UK's domestic and international security. Due to its intrinsic nature of the checks, it is a labouring task taking many months and up to £10,000 to complete, according to two of the sources. The process provides a complete background check on individuals, examining their finances, personal relationships with family members and partners, and criminal record checks to give assurances of their accountability to government assets and classified information. These are several different types of vetting levels, with the most common being counter-terrorist checks (CTC), security checks (SC), and developed vetting (DV). DV is the most complex and allows individual access to sensitive government information and assets. A team with the Cabinet Office, named as the United Kingdom Security Vetting, the UKSV, took over national vetting for government departments from the Ministry of Defence in 2020, while intelligence agencies hired special vetting officers to undertake the same procedures for hires at British spy agencies. A serving MI6 officer told the Eye that both processes are the same. The only difference is being an amount to a risk that each department is happy to expose itself to. Candidates will need to work higher thresholds to work at an intelligence agency due to the work they conduct. Last year, a Public Accounts Committee report found that the Cabinet Office had failed to get a grip on delivering national security vetting, with potential consequences running from losing the best candidates for essential roles to implementing the effective functioning of the government's work to tackle increased security risk. The report found that 30% of the DV applicants in 2022-2023 were taking more than 180 days, almost double the 95-day target, leading to an increasing number of individuals cancelling their DV applications. In a bid to tackle the delay in vetting, UKSV increased its headcount and prioritised their DV waitlist, and earlier this year, John Glenn, the Paymaster General Minister for the Cabinet Office, said that the UKSV had processed 91.22% of individual DV cases in 95 days and 95.1% of routine cases within 25 days. However, Mr Glenn revealed there is still work to be done, as only 8.62% of DV review cases vetting when individuals already hold that level of vetting were completed within 95 days. That's fascinating, to say the least. Obviously, we don't know how. I want to stress, we don't know how accurate this is. However, it is interesting, to say the least. Now, like I said at the start of the video, I don't know how reliable their sources are at the Eye when it comes to this, but they said they from 5 sources, obviously they're saying from this, I do think that if this story is true, which I am generally inclined to believe that is true, guys, my thought process is it was down that the reason why they're in this situation is because of the lack of staff being able to complete the work to complete it all for them. And then we end up with this situation where they're sitting there waiting, and they're not going to wait because they've already put in the training and the effort and the time, and that's just, and they end up going elsewhere, which makes sense, because why would you wait up to 3 years? Why would they wait for it? They don't have time to sit around and wait. They want to get, they don't want to. They just want to get on with what they've been trained up to, and that's the thing that kind of infuriates me the most, is that we pay for the defence and intelligence. It comes out of taxpayer money and whatnot. But like NHS staff, and we're paying staff to be trained to become doctors and nurses, and they end up buggering off to another country. It really is infuriating, because we're wasting taxpayer money. They should not be forced to go to. They should not have to get trained in this country and end up going somewhere to another country when we actually train them and pay them and all that kind of stuff to build them up, only for them to go somewhere else. This should not be happening in any way, shape or form. So what Labour will do and how they address this, I don't know, but it's incredibly concerning, to say the least, because it does put us at risk if we're not hiring, if we're constantly relying on private contractors to do jobs that we should be having our own people basically do. So one to be definitely concerned about, for sure, guys. But what do you guys make of it all? What do you guys make of the spy hiring delay? Do you believe any of it? Do you think the Eye has reliable sources? Do you think it is the way the vetting process and the way that they are hiring in them, is it similar to a similar situation when it comes to what we have with our NHS doctors and nurses that we train up and then they end up going somewhere else? Do you think that the austerity that has taken place under the Conservative over the last 14 years had played a factor into why candidates are taking longer for them to be approved. Let me know what your thoughts are about this in the comments section down below. If you found the video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or joining me on Patreon for exclusive content. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.